Previously on Erin's makeup declutter. Okay, I'm just kidding. We're not doing a previously on. Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Declutter part 2 of my series. We're going through my eyeshadows, my single shadows, and my eyeshadow palettes. So if you'd like to see that, just keep watching. Today we're gonna go through this drawer, kind of. We are going to take out all of this. We are just gonna go through these bad boys. Bring them up to the front here. Oh, it looks like something has made a mess in here. These are my single shadows. I don't have a ton, and there's a reason for that because I've really come to realize I don't use them. And we are gonna be going through my makeup palettes, which you will see after this nonsense here. Ready? Okay, so I'm going to talk about the first thing that I'm obviously not going to get rid of, and that is these beautiful and amazing Tarte chrome paints. These are phenomenal. I have them in the shade Top Yacht, Park Avenue Princess, and this is Frosé. Here, I'm going to zoom in a tad. Believe me when I tell you, you want these freaking chrome paints. I can't recommend them enough. One of the best things that come out recently, in my opinion. Here's a swatch of them. This one's Top Yacht, Frosé, Park Avenue Princess, and if it's not just me, it looks a bit like, you know, Neapolitan ice cream. We're next going to go through my largest collection of single eyeshadows, and those would be ColourPop eyeshadows. Did I grab them all? Oh, RIP. First one I'm obviously going to be keeping because you guys have heard about this ColourPop shadow many times, is the ColourPop shadow in Tea Party. As you can see, I dropped it and it was already like pretty shallow in the pan because of how much I used. So it kind of crumbled, but it's still usable, guys. It's still my baby. I really love ColourPop's shimmer formula. Their matte formula, however, I am not a huge fan of. The Super Shock shadow in Downtown and Central Perk and Hanky Panky, these three are matte shades and I do not really like them. So I'm going to be getting rid of them. I just don't really love the formula of them. These are shimmer formula. And I could tell you already, I think I'm going to get rid of Drift. I've had it for a while. This was one of the first ColourPop shades I bought, and it is really pretty, but I just never reach for it. And then I have two purple shades, and this one is a Super Shock pigment. It's not a Super Shock shadow like this shade. This is the shade Fantasy Pigment, and then this is the Lace shadow. This shadow, look at it. Does that not look like the most stunning thing ever? But when I swatch it, it's just a little too, like, I don't know. It's kind of patchy. It wasn't as bright as I wanted it to be, so I'm going to get rid of this guy. This is not like a shadow. Like I said, it's like a pressed pigment, so it's not going to come out like super opaque. It's supposed to kind of be like a topper, and I love this because I don't really have any shadows in this color, and it's super pretty. I'm going to keep that one. And then the last two shades here, one is ColourPop Shark Attack, and this is just a super pretty peach with a gold shift. I think it's so freaking stunning. I'm going to swatch it for you. Like, it's just like butter. The formula of this one is what I wanted that lace shadow to be. It's like butter, but it wasn't. So, but I'm going to keep this one. And then this one is the shade Hammered, and it's like this gorgeous olive green with like a gold shift. So I am going to keep this one as well. These are two Milani shadows. These are like the Bella shadows. I don't know what this one's called because I ripped off my sticker apparently, but this is the shade Bella Charcoal. Like if you are a person who strictly likes neutrals but wants to buy like pops of color, like you use the same shadow every day, but you want to just buy like pops of color for your collection, I really recommend these. They're super inexpensive and actually are quite beautiful. This blue shade is so freaking pretty, and it's like butter, okay? These are actually really good, but like I said, I don't really reach for single shadows, and I feel like I do have blues and like grays already. So I am going to get rid of these just because I know myself and I'm not really going to use them. Next up, we have some NYX shadows. I used to actually have a ton of NYX single shadows and I've already got rid of them prior to this video, like a year ago. These are the ones I kept. This is actually a really nice shade if you just want like a really pretty neutral kind of topper. I also really want to bring out this shade here, which is actually an Urban Decay shadow in the shade Midnight Cowboy. And I just personally like Midnight Cowboy just a little more because it has a pinkier tone to it. If you can kind of see, this is more champagne-y and this is pinkier. This is pretty close to it. I'm going to keep the Urban Decay one, but I am getting rid of this NYX one. This is a really old NYX Bake Shadow. I really never use it. Gonna get rid of it. This is another one of those shadows. It's in this brown shade and I already have tons of like metallic-y shimmery browns, so I'm gonna get rid of that too. This is the only one I'm keeping. Look, it's a mess, but this is the NYX Prismatic Shadow in the shade Mermaid, and holy, look at how sad this is. They're so fragile. I used to have several of these. All of them broke, all of them. This is the most unique blue I've like ever found, basically. There is no other dupe, I swear, to this shadow. Like, I have not found an exact dupe for it. It kind of looks like the Sugar Pill Lumi shadow, or Lumi pigment, if it was like a shadow, in my opinion. I am gonna keep this one. It's the only NYX single shadow I've basically kept throughout time. I have these three like random naked cosmetic shadows, once again from the good old Ipsy box bag whatever days. Never used them. Pigments I know are beautiful and can really transform a look, but I don't reach for them very often, and so I'm gonna get rid of these. I have this very random Dose of Colors, what are these called? Ideal Duo. This was very popular, I feel like, a couple years ago. It has like the cream on top and then the pigment on the bottom to match. This is in the shade Maroon. I am going to keep this just because it's the only one I have, and I got rid of Drift, which I feel like is a very similar shade to this, that ColourPop shadow, you know? The Natasha Denona Crystal Top Coat. I'm not even going to talk about it. Keeping. These are Victoria's Secret single eyeshadows. One is in the shade Luster and the other is in the shade Sparkle. These are what I wore in high school nonstop, especially Sparkle. It is like this champagne shade. But look at that. Like, that's actually really good for a Victoria's Secret eyeshadow. I am actually going to throw these away because they are so old and disgusting that they need to be thrown away and will not be shared with anyone. However, I really want to do a how I did my makeup in high school video, so I'm just gonna keep these for now, and as soon as I do that video, they're going in the garbage. These three are just really random. Got this from my sister, never used them, so I'm gonna get rid of all these. Someone else can love them. I have this Cargo Cosmetics shadow and I broke it, so I've tried to be careful. However, this is such a pretty shade and actually really gorgeous as like a bronzer topper. However, I never use it, so I feel like I could kind of press it down and give it to somebody else. I want to talk about these. These are such a unique product in my opinion. I put them in here. They're a glitter, but I keep them as like a single shadow. These are the weirdest things ever. These are the Wet n Wild Icon glitter singles. They're super strange. They actually are suspended in a gloss. I know it's kind of hard to see, but oh, there you go, kind of. It's like they're suspended in like Vaseline, and looking at them brand new, you could not tell like when they're in their packaging, and so I bought a bunch of these. They're like $1 at the drugstore, and when I opened them, I was quite surprised. However, I actually really like them for kind of more editorial looks. I feel like they're actually a really unique product. Here, let me kind of like try to swatch one for you. I've never had something like this. If you can see, it's like glossy and glittery. So I am gonna keep these just because I'm looking for the most perfect opportunity to use this. Wow, that is disgusting. So we're gonna clean this out quick. I'm gonna use myself some disinfectant wipes, okay? I have disinfectant wipes in like every room of my house. Okay, I like to disinfect. All right, if anyone has the IKEA drawers or the IKEA tabletop, you know this is as clean as it's gonna get. So as you can see, my single shadows kind of live back here, just because I don't use them that often, so I just kind of keep them back there. This is like a preview of the next episode. Okay, now don't look too hard because, you know, you're gonna spoil the surprise. This is why it's not very organized, because we're gonna hit this area next time, so. Wearing my sweatpants and socks again. I know you're waiting to see that. For this drawer, before we even enter, I'm pre-saying I need you to not get all like judgmental on me, okay? I previously knew that I was gonna do this series, and so I just like threw everything in this drawer and didn't organize. Okay, you can judge. I know it's bad. This is my palette drawer in all its glory. This has face palettes and eyeshadow palettes. I really want to get rid of quite a bit in this drawer, so I'm just gonna start and we're just gonna go through this. All right, we're just gonna pick them out one by one. This is the first palette I'm going to talk to you about. This is the Lorac Pro palette. I was super excited to get this when it kind of came out. Lorac, I feel like, had a decent like 3 or so years ago. This palette is good, but I have so many that are great, and so I don't really want to keep this because I never use it. Someone else can get so much more love out of it. Like, don't get me wrong, these shadows are beautiful, but I just don't really use it, so bye. The Naked 2. Everybody and their mother probably owns a Naked palette. This palette, wow, what to say? I feel like all of their Naked palettes kind of have a similar problem. At least they're like original Nakeds, like Nakeds 1 through 3. They don't have enough matte shades and are just full of shimmer. This black matte, not that great. And then I actually really like Tease, but it's like the only other matte in this palette. I just never reach for this. I'm gonna get rid of it. Honestly, I think that the Naked palettes are completely overrated. Let me show you the only one that I don't hate that I have tried. This is the Urban Decay Naked Ultimate Basics palette, and this is what it looks like. It is full of all matte shades, and I actually come to this palette a lot when I am using a palette that's like only shimmer or something, you know? So this is the palette I actually go to because I feel like it has more your cool tones and then warmer tones. I think it didn't get enough love. So if you're looking for a really great basic palette, highly suggest this one. It is kind of pricey, but it's really good. Keeping. Okay, we're just gonna get this out of the way. This monstrosity is a Tarte palette that I actually bought like 3 years ago, I think. Before, I was a little more ignorant of the fact that holiday palettes suck. Not all, most. Okay, look at this thing. It's like a briefcase. This is what it looks like. It has all these Tarte shadows down here, which in my opinion do not even remotely live up. It's kind of hard to see because it's so freaking reflective. Like, not even up to par with Tarte shadows in my opinion. That's why I don't think holiday palettes are really worth it. I feel like they're not the same formulas that the company like usually produces, and therefore they're not as high quality. And I actually did really like this. This is just like a tiny little palette with some like neutral shades, has a bronzer, blush, and highlight. Like, this is actually great. However, I'm going to just get rid of all of it because I always forget to use this, and it's not shades that are permanent. So I'm just going to put that in that palette and give this puppy away. Just I've pretty much learned my lesson not to buy limited edition like holiday palettes, especially eyeshadows, mainly eyeshadows. Natural Eye, original packaging, mint condition. Actually, this is my second high-end palette I ever bought. And as you can see, it has been used and abused. Honey Pot was my jam, okay? So was Push Up too, but Honey Pot was the real MVP. They have redone this packaging like 3 times since I had this palette. I don't use this at all anymore. I'm gonna get rid of it, and if I really want to repurchase it, I'll buy one of the newer ones. But yeah, this is gonna go. Next up is the Smoky Eye by Too Faced. I lost my little tabby on this one, so this one's extra fun to open. I was obsessed with the Natural Eye one, so I bought the Smoky Eye one. Now these are so not popular. I just never use this anymore. It's actually like barely used. Like, I honestly didn't even use that one this much, but it is pretty. It has way too much shimmer in it and really no matte. and so that's why I feel like it didn't get as much use out of it. And then my Boudoir Eye, which is in the tin, so it's a little newer than the other two. Once again, I didn't use this a ton. Actually, this is the eyeshadow palette I used for my wedding. I feel like I bought all these palettes back when these were quite popular. I don't really use them, like I said, anymore, so I'm getting rid of all three. This is the Physicians Formula Smoky Nude palette. I bought this to try out because I never tried out Physicians Formula eyeshadows, and I bought it for my full face of Physicians Formula tutorial. I actually really don't enjoy this palette very much. It just didn't perform the way I wanted it to. I just wanted more from it, especially from this like blue shade. Like it wasn't as bright as I wanted it to be as it looks in like the pan. If somebody doesn't want like super bright shadows, I feel like this would be great, but it just wasn't my favorite, so I am gonna get rid of it. This is the Balm Cosmetics Meet Matte Nude palette. This is what it looks like here. I actually do not use this palette anymore, except for, don't think this is too weird, I use this to fill in my hairline sometimes, just because I feel like it has kind of the perfect colors. I don't really use it for anything else, which is not really that weird because like the Color Wow hairline powder thing is basically just eyeshadow. And so I just use this instead. Wow, I've only kept 2 palettes so far. Let's talk about something else I'm gonna keep. Stack of the Milk Cosmetics eyeshadows. I have the Rust stack, I have the Lovesick stack, and I have the, what is this one? Gunmetal stack. I love these shadows, and I find that Milk Cosmetics comes out with some really unique shades. I love, 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 which one is it? This shadow in the Rust stack, which is called Rubbish. This purple shade, which I feel like kind of looks like that ColourPop lace shade, but is 1,000 times better. This bluey gray shade, which is called, I can't remember what that one's called. Fixated, is super stunning. I actually really like these. I am gonna keep them. These two are the Wet n Wild. These are like the Color Icon palettes. These are the quads that they came out with, and then these are like the 10 pan one they came out with. This is in the one Nude Awakening. This is such a phenomenal palette from the drugstore. If you just want the most perfect set of like everyday wearable shimmer and matte shades, and you don't want to spend a lot of money, this was, I think, $4.99 at the drugstore. Same with these quads. These quads are just so cute. These are like $2 or $3. And this one I just thought was really cool. I love that kind of goldy copper shade and that blue, just so nice. And that's like the most perfect transition shade. I personally feel that Nude Awakening kind of looks like the Tartelette palette without like some of these more redder tones. If you kind of look at them, they have similar tones. And I feel like this is kind of a dupe for the Tartelette in Bloom, and I love the Tartelette in Bloom. It's one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. If anyone asks me, they're starting out with like eyeshadow and makeup, wonder what to get, I always, always, always recommend the Tartelette in Bloom, just because I feel like the shadows are easy to work with and beautiful, and it smells like vanilla. What's not to love? I am getting rid of this. This was just the biggest letdown to me. If you run into the Wet n Wild eyeshadow palettes that look like this, I recommend not purchasing these. Any of them that look like this, great. These, crap. This is Studio Eyeshadow Palette in Coming in Latte, and I think I paid like $10 for this. So not only was it more expensive, it is so not worth it. Like, these just did not deliver in my opinion. Like, look at that. Look at that. I did a substantial like finger in shadow. That one's not so bad. Matte shade, terrible. It just like, look at, you can't even see it. I'm gonna get rid of this. Not worth it. Don't buy these ones. These ones, not good. I have 3 Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow palettes. One is one that is no longer available. This is the Shadow Couture palette, which I'm still mad. Still bitter that they did not make this a permanent eyeshadow palette. If you could see, mine is beat to a crap. I loved this palette. This palette was beyond beautiful in my opinion. It was ahead of its time. It had like the pop of blue, pop of pink, pop of like a really weird gold. Pink Champagne is still one of the most beautiful like pressed metallic pink shadows ever. As you can see, the most perfect transition color. My everyday like eyeshadow would be Soft Peach, Moroccan and Fudge like a couple years ago. I am going to keep it just because I love it so much. Isn't this ridiculous? Even over my wedding palette. The palette I used on my face for my wedding, this one just means more to me. Like, I just love it so much. I'm gonna blur out this picture for you because I know that this is a trigger for many of you. Just kidding. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette, and everybody hated this palette. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I talk about it a lot. I adore the crap out of this palette. I think it's so good. It's so unique. The colors are unique. I understand. I think there was some off ones, and I think also if you are a beginner with makeup, this palette's not for you, but I love it. That's all I'm going to say about it. And Modern Renaissance, everyone's loved, like most loved palette. I still love this palette. I think it's so beautiful. It's so unique and just a great palette for everyday looks. If you want a like neutral palette, but also have like more options for fun, this is the one I would suggest because it has the pinks and the orange and the just really metallic shades. This is such a great palette. I'll never get rid of it. I don't think anyone will. It's so good. This is the Urban Decay Moon Dust palette. This palette I don't use very often, but I am going to keep it because that's the point. I want to use it and I don't. It is so weird and unique. I'm not even sure if this was limited edition or if it's part of their overall like collection. I just think it's such a weird and cool palette, and I really do want to use it more often, so I am going to keep it. Plus this packaging is to die for. I'm going to keep going with the Happy. This is the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. I've talked about this palette 101 times. I really love it, and I think this is also just a great neutral palette with pops of color. If you are sensitive to smell, however, I'd pass, but I actually really like this palette. I think it's super pretty and I use it a lot in the spring and summer. I can't believe I still freaking have this. This is my first palette that was high-end that I ever bought. It is by Stila, and I remember I was still serving at that time, and I asked this girl one day what was on her eyes because it was so pretty, and she was like, oh, this palette, and it's the Stila Dare to Bear palette. And look how beat up this eyeshadow palette is. This eyeshadow palette has seen some days. It has been to hell and back. I'm gonna throw this away because it is so disgusting. It was a well-loved palette. I actually really liked these. They had like several of them. They each were like different color stories, and I thought they were really cool. They no longer have these, but I'm throwing this away. I have two Morphe Brushes palettes. Want to guess what they are? Okay, of course I have the Morphe Brushes 35O palette. I am going to keep this palette for now, I could tell you already. I actually do want to get the 35, what was it called? The 35 like 02 or something. The reason I'm keeping this palette is not because I honestly use it very often. When people come over to my house and get their makeup done, which is quite often, I use this palette on them because a lot of people want like something more neutral, and this still has like the warm pops of orange and stuff that I can use. So I'm going to keep this one. This one I am going to get rid of. They don't even make this palette anymore. This is the 35S palette. It is such a weird palette. I bought this a long time ago before I had anything colorful in my collection, and this is what I used. It's actually got some really pretty shadows in it, but like I said, I just never use it, and they no longer sell it, so I can't even use it on camera. Plus, I have a colored palette I love so much more, so I am gonna get rid of this one. The colored palette I love so much more is the NYX Ultimate Brights palette. Almost all these shades are great. This is what I use just for a colorful eyeshadow look if I want to do one. It's just really good. Like, I feel like I don't need anything else, so this is what I keep. This is a random like happy birthday palette from Ulta that Ulta and like NYX did a couple years ago. I don't know why I kept it, because it's an eyeshadow palette and I just threw it in my drawer and forgot about it. I have like barely touched this, and someone could totally get use out of this, so I am going to get rid of it. Once again, this is a kind of controversial palette. This is the Jaclyn Hill palette. I personally have really realized after using this palette that I don't love Morphe shadows, but I freaking love this palette. This palette to me is super great. The most stunning. Like, it has like beautiful pops of color, has every color I basically need. The only thing missing to me in this palette is a yellow. Like I wanted a yellow, but I really like this palette. I use it all the time still. Super great to travel with. Another eyeshadow palette I'm keeping, the Sephora Pro Cool palette. This palette got crapped on. Like no one wanted or liked this palette. I personally love it. I think it's super unique. I feel like cool tones are so underrated and everyone loves warm tones, but this palette is so beautiful. Do I think it's the most perfect cool tone palette that ever lived? Absolutely not. I would change some things about this palette. I just think that this palette was actually really good and really pretty, and I actually really like to use it, especially in the winter time. Very nice palette. I am going to be getting rid of this. This is the BH Cosmetics, what is it? Blushed Neutrals palette. This is a really nice, I bought this actually on sale last holiday for like $5 because I never tried BH products before and really wanted to see if they were worth what everybody was saying. It has like this row of blushes down here which are actually really pretty blushes, and then has like this one weird pink shade. I'm still not sure why. However, I do feel like these shades are pretty similar to my 35O palette, and I don't really use this very often, and if I wanted to use something like it, I feel like I could use the 35O, so I am going to get rid of this. This is like the first collab I ever bought. This is the Kathleen Lights Morphe Brushes collab. This is actually just so pretty. This shade reminds me so much of Melt Rubbish. This green is stunning. I don't really have a green like this, and I actually really like this palette. Do I use it like crazy often? No, but I do really like it. And I'm actually a huge fan of Kathleen. I think she's so great, and she still does like the original beauty style YouTube videos and pulls it off like flawlessly. I just really enjoyed this. I'm going to keep it. I love this palette. This is the Maybelline Lemonade Craze palette. I think that this palette is super good, especially for drugstore. I really want to try the new Soda Pop palette to see if I like that one too. I know a lot of people didn't like this, and that's okay. Want to do pops of color, but like a more subtle pop of color, like a lightly pigmented. This is great. I feel like these are so freaking good. First of all, the Smoky Obsessions is the most perfect like everyday palette. I take this with me traveling because these are just beautiful enough, these shimmers, to wear on their own. These matte shades create the perfect like matte neutral eye. And then you got that silver shade. This is so good. And then I like flipped out when I saw she was gonna make the Coral Obsessions because I love coral. And when I saw like the yellow and oranges and pinks in this, I was like, this is the palette for me. Definitely keeping those and hope to buy her new like jewel ones. I'm so excited for those. Right here, I have the e.l.f. Mad for Matte 2 palette. This I feel like is a super great palette from the drugstore. Once again, all matte, but it has like this really nice like pinky purpley shade here. Really inexpensive, so if you want something inexpensive that's all matte shades, super great palette. This is a color, I don't even know if they make like this exact palette anymore, but this is a ColourPop like make your own palette. My collection was really lacking greens. I bought this like a year and a half, 2 years ago now. I really like ColourPop single shadows. They had some beautiful green shades, and so I just made this like little quad, and is all greens and different like matte and shimmer greens. I am going to keep this because I actually really like it, and I do feel like we are missing some really good greens in the makeup world, and I really like these, so keeping that. These are my face palettes. I'm going to go through them real fast. I could tell you I'm probably not going to get rid of any. This is the BH Cosmetics Nude 10 Blush palette. I actually really like this palette and use it a lot. I use it on people who come over. It just has a good range of nude shades. Like this orange color is so beautiful for fall, so I am going to keep that. When I go to my like highlighters and get rid of and declutter a bunch of my highlighters and stuff, I'm going to get rid of a lot of my holographic stuff, but I'm going to keep this one because I am going to get rid of a ton of my holographic highlighters. I'm going to keep this one because I think this is all I'm going to keep because I like this formula and it's much prettier than a lot of other ones I've tried. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Glow Kit in the shade Sun Dipped. Still love this palette and still stand by that this was like the last good glow kit. I use this all the time in the summer for my face and my body. Like these pan sizes are freaking huge. Keeping this, it has such a good range of colors, and I actually really get a lot of use out of it. This is a Benefit Cheek Parade palette, and I actually use this quite a bit too. They come out with these every year, and I don't think this one is available anymore, but all of these colors and blushes and bronzers are all permanent, and so you can buy them individually. But like I said, they come out with a new one like every holiday, so I'm sure you can get something just like this. This is my pretty recent Becca Be the Light palette. I found out this is limited edition. How did I not know that? I'm so upset. Very similar to the ambient lighting powders from Hourglass. Just such a beautiful palette. I'm so mad that Becca is not keeping this as a permanent thing, because I feel like, why wouldn't you? They don't have really anything like this. So this is one of the most underrated things in my opinion. This is the Balm Cosmetics How About Them Apple palette, and it is a palette full, oh god, I stuck my finger in it. This is a palette full of cream blushes. I like mix them all together, use them separately. Just has like really pretty colors in it. Like this is a pink with like a gold shimmer in it. This is like a nude, such a good formula. Keeping. I am actually going to keep this. I know this is so old, but this is the Becca Jaclyn Hill palette. What is this called? The Champagne Glow palette. Now you can still buy Champagne Pop and Becca Pearl, but you can't buy, I think this was called Blushed Copper. You can't buy Blushed Copper anymore, but I never use it because it's crazy dark for me. That's an eyeshadow on me. So sometimes I use it like for an eyeshadow or something, but I don't use it often. I'm really close to using them up, and so I feel like I should just keep it just to get like my money's worth out of it and finish these up. And so I'm trying to kind of work on these two pans here, and maybe I'll like depot this and give it to somebody. The last item, oh my gosh, we're finally there. You all know you had this if you wanted the Anastasia Beverly Hills contour kit and couldn't afford the $40 contour kit, and then NYX came out with a $25 one with an extra 2 pans in it, and you were like, heck yeah. This is actually really good if you're looking to have like powder products and you're a working artist, especially because these pop out and you can replace them. Oh god, well, I just stuck my finger in something again. Why is this happening to me? I actually still use this quite often when people come over and I do their makeup, so I am going to keep it, but it is a good product and I feel like they are good powders. All right guys, we're gonna party disinfect this bad boy again. Ta-da! Wow, it looks so much better, guys. Like, to me, this is much more manageable and doesn't look nearly as crazy. I just feel like before there was too much, not enough I was using. And to be honest, eyeshadow palettes are kind of something that I've been just like done with. I feel like no one's bringing out things I really love. This is what I'm kind of liking to keep right now. And here is all I'm getting rid of. Wow. Look at all this stuff. I'm pretty freaking proud of my pile here. All right guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching me get rid of a bunch of my makeup. I got rid of a lot of eyeshadow today. Slowly I feel like the mess of my makeup is depleting and I'm pretty happy about it. Next up, we're going to be doing powder highlights, powder bronzers, blushes, and eyeliners and other things that you saw in that first drawer that we decluttered. Spoiler alert, all of these videos will be incredibly long. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.